because they have to meet or how many, I don't know how many, we get 10 meetings with them. And so he was thinking of coming, and then Pat said, no, we weren't gonna go to this one. And I was like, that's what I thought the decision had been. So I talked to them. I pull up the agenda, so I actually talk about what we're supposed to be doing. Kind of bad about that. Agenda. And we are going to skip over approving the minutes until next week, because we don't know where they are at this time, but they are somewhere.
Yep.
And they
Never,
will
we
be
never
found.
lose things. That's why I can't find it, because they keep everything.
You know, the feeling like you never know, you might need that. Well, this thing you needed immediately, but that's okay. So, approval of the minutes we're skipping past, old business, review of the additional department and board surveys. I'm gonna skip over that for now and go to the update on the select board meeting, just so we can all catch up on where we are. So I went to the April 16th select board meeting, and they were getting the thing ready for town meeting, so they were swamped. And I was gonna go after was it planning board or somebody with me? And then Molly just went like, Mary, how long are you gonna take? I'm like, as little time as you need. John was there. So I didn't really follow my, I had prepared some bullets. But I tried to just go real fast so that they could get on to their work. And I gave them our basic summary of what we looked at, who we've talked to, and the options that we saw as possibilities. And they had a couple of questions, but they're all very happy that we had done things and that we were prepared to, that they like the better to have something accomplished by the next town meeting that can be voted on than, to grind out and hope to maybe someday create a big charter. So they want a special act to get us from weak town manager to town
Administrator.
to strong. So we have the South Hadley one that we generally liked. Mel, I talked to Mel and Pat and told them all this, and they put together the matrix that I forwarded to you.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
I said, like, we've got 2 lawyers on the committee. We don't really want to write a single new word if we don't need to, because, we like a lot of what we've seen. And so they went through and picked pieces from different ones, and I think tonight we'll go through that. And my thought of what we have left to do really is decide. We want a strong town administrator. How strong? Are we going to change? Do we want to change or recommend changes to reporting lines? So the few employees that are outside the town administrator's authority, do we want to come maybe a dual reporting line? We got to figure that out. And then we need to talk to the people involved. So we'd have to bring in the assessor, have someone who reports directly.
Yeah, the assessors
You
have,
guys have someone?
so that's interesting.
Ah,
The land use coordinator is budgeted through us, but she doesn't actually report to us because she is also supporting the ZBA and the Conservation Commission, which are appointed boards.
okay.
So we don't consider her to be an employee, although we are relying on her.
Who is she an employee of?
I guess she reports to the town administrator.
That's one thing we can find out.
There's no one else, there is no department head that has hiring authority
Yeah.
over her. So you have the chair of the Conservation Commission, the chair of the ZBA, and the chair of the Planning Board are the department heads in the land use section. But it's
Should there be a
It's
dispute someday about her duties? There's no tie breaking, like the 3 of them have to work it out.
Yeah, and since we're the conservation meets once a month, planning board meets twice a month, ZBA meets as needed, and CPA, which she is also handling, meets twice a year.
She's a girl.
So,
Well, one of the things that, I discovered, I think at the last meeting, I think I told you all, I called each of them. One of the selectmen said, when I brought up the issue of selectmen sticking to, policy,
Policy, yeah.
I was surprised to hear him say, that's why I ran for selectman.
Yeah,
Have you heard it before?
but I know that they definitely want to do less day-to-day. Yeah, but who has the time? They're in meetings
Well-
like crazy and they have other jobs.
Well, it also
Some of
strikes me as being absolutely absurd. And it's happened twice this year, or twice within the last 6 months anyway, where the selectmen's time is taken up surrounding the appointment of somebody who works for a department head.
So they were all for, we switched that part of the strong town administrator, that all that stuff's gonna come off their plate. They will probably approve department heads. But everything else is really just, the town, we can propose whatever we want for consideration, but. The town administrator could just inform them of the hire or not even.
It's certainly been the practice of the department heads with large staffs to, basically make a recommendation and sometimes present them to the board just not so much as a courtesy, but actually, I think both the fire department and maybe the police department already have strong chiefs. So the chief is making, I remember that came up at town meeting a few years ago. The chief is actually making the hiring decisions.
They definitely bring them before the board
Mike Mason
in a
does.
presentation.
Mike Spankmaple doesn't for decision making, although he likes to bring them in for publicity.
Yeah,
But I think Mike Mason, as police chief, does run them through. And last night there was a record 45-minute, or not even 45-minute, right? It was a record short session.
nice.
2 people were away. Personnel
Right.
director came in, or Mike Mason on behalf of the personnel director said, personnel director recommends this, this, and this. All in favor, aye.
Yeah,
And so, there's a combination of wanting to have some involvement in what's going on,
yeah.
versus micromanaging. So,
I don't recall what's in, like, for example, the South Hadley one, we can look at that, but. I would imagine the town administrator would want to, announce if we had a vacancy, it's been filled.
it would probably be interesting to actually watch a South Hadley Select Board meeting to see, contrast and compare with how our meeting, and I wouldn't use last night's meeting as an
No,
example.
I turned that one on, like, oh,
That's
this
a
will be
great
good.
suggestion, Bill. I remember when, one of our recent town administrators from, Wilbraham was being considered. I looked at their select board meetings, which she was, part of, because I think she was on the select board.
Mhm.
And the tone is quite a bit different. And it was striking to me. And I asked her afterwards if, when she got here, she noticed that the tone was different. And she said, absolutely. And I never got into enough of a discussion to find out what the parameters were. But that's a good point. I have another question for you, Bill, and that is, in this material, I've found it odd that the finance committee is appointed by the moderator.
I thought that was odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing the moderator does.
Really?
And I am not,
Other than run the meeting.
other than run the meetings. And I'm not sure that's whether or not that's statutory. I know in some towns, the finance committee is an elected position. West Hampton, I think, has they run for it spring annual town election.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a check and balance. I don't know where it is derived from.
It's a strange one.
It's a strange one,
Probably
and
figured that out.
moderators tend not to be deeply involved because they want to be neutral and impartial
Right,
running the meeting.
Right.
And,
I'd rather have the town treasurer appoint the finance committee members. It
yeah,
makes more sense professionally.
so we have to take a look at that.
yeah.
Bill, do you remember any reason why it was that way?
It's been that way for as long as I can remember.
It could go back to 1659.
I wonder if there is a effective date.
Interesting.
Did the select board at your presentation in April 16, did they talk about the effect of what we're doing on the new town administrator?
They liked the idea that, we would do this special act in terms of getting it to strong rather than weak. And then take the break. And then once we have a town administrator, involve that person in any further, deliberations we decide to do.
I would, that's a very good point, John, and I would think it would be essential to get this squared away first.
Yeah, I like that.
So that the new administrator would know what's expected of them. Or,
Quite a bit, according to Mel Clarkman's table.
well, that leads me to the next thought, and that is that, the town hasn't quite worked its way out of the situation that it used to be in, the sort of bucolic farming community, where old man Monostowski could walk across Route 9 in the morning from his house to his warehouse and not be afraid of getting clobbered. But we have changed.
Yeah.
We're now the
I don't
retail
think that happened
center.
in my lifetime.
Hmm?
I don't think you could do that in my lifetime.
No.
Route 9.
No, but we're the retail center of the county now. And that's gonna take, the fire department as a full-time ambulance now, that's a big change. And so having those issues resolved before they hire somebody to fulfill the duty seems to be absolutely essential.
Well, they're in the process of hiring now, so I don't think we're gonna have it. Yeah, they
Yeah,
have
but-
16 candidates, I believe.
I think they may have had 16 expressions of interest. The last I heard, they were down, and this was what Mike Mason announced, that they were down to 4.
Oh, good,
And
because I was hoping they weren't gonna
the-
interview 16.
the select board said, that's a lot for us to interview. And sort of kicked it back to
I think there was a committee that was
committee.
gonna
There is a
do the
committee.
interviewing,
there's a committee and a consultant. So the consultant gathered,
right?
shared with the committee pared it down to 4. I don't know how many qualified names the
Right,
consultant forwarded to the committee had it down to 4. Which is that's all public.
Yeah.
I actually don't know anything non-public. I'm not on the committee. But it was down to 4, and the select board at a prior meeting said something to the effect of 4 is a lot.
yeah, I
And
wouldn't want them
sort of-
talking to more than 2.
Kicked it back to the
Their time.
committee to pare it down some more, and that's the last I've heard.
Okay, so they're trucking along, they think that person will be probably on board September, maybe October. So we're not gonna finish, we might finish this. We'll finish drafting something, but I don't know when the special
I
time
really
meeting.
don't
will be.
think 4 is that many, because if you look at superintendent searches,
Still a lot for
they
the
always have
select
4
board.
or
that was-
5
yeah.
finalists, and people back out at the contract level.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really have them doing too much interviewing at all, like, that's what the committee should be doing, and then say, we like this one. If you don't like that one, we like this one, but,
So the finance committee was created by town meeting 1988. There shall be a finance committee as provided by chapter 130 of the Acts of 1910.
it took us a while to catch up with that act.
And it just says that they shall be appointed by the moderator. And there is a footnote to, the acts of 1910 has been, and it said that, members of the select board, the school committee, and the town treasurer shall not be members of the committee. Now, let's see, 3916.
Strange.
3916, so let me go to that.
The town's valuation. Yeah, the moderator bit doesn't seem to come from the law, at least a quick look. Well, I think, when you said like the treasurer, my guess is they'd want it to be sort of a check and balance on whoever's handling the money, so you don't want that person choosing, you know, their three best friends to be the check. on
Right.
it. So why is the moderator instead of the select board? I don't know.
Okay.
They just didn't wanna do anything. Yeah, like you do it. Was it Mr. Parker? Hello, welcome. Sorry. No problem. She can fly out to Spain or Paris or wherever. Mom is.
No, taking the dog to the vet.
Oh,
I am, she's good though, good.
if you can get a vet appointment,
Right,
you take it.
exactly.
The statute is silent as to every town shall by bylaw provide for the election or the appointment and duties of appropriation advisory or finance committees. So every town shall have one, either elected or appointed. Now, why the appointment was by the moderator, they're silent as to that.
May not have been there that day, so they said, don't have the moderator do it.
Right.
A lot of things happen.
Uh-huh.
Well, we can consider, do we have a survey from finance committee?
Don't think so. They were so deep in,
Oh, yeah, they're busy.
and they were busy.
Yeah, but I haven't really looked at them as closely as I should have, but I thought what was interesting is that the few that I looked at, it seems to me that the department head doesn't really even want to report to the town administrator like that. Yeah, we let them know if
Mhm.
something's happening. I mean, it really sounded quite like, and then like the library was, well, he answers to the committee, but we don't tell him anything.
Well, the library has a separate statutory
Yeah.
reporting group. The statutory creation of a library commission, so.
So that's,
By the way, if anyone else cares, there's an app for that. The E-code, the town regulations, there's an app for the town regulations.
it's surprising though. Be nice if they had, maybe they do have scans of all the minutes back to like 1988 and see why they put the moderator in charge. It's gotta be somewhere.
Yeah.
Nobody throws anything away. In the attic of the town hall.
I want to say we've had a finance committee since before that.
Yeah,
Because I think Linda was on the finance committee in 86, maybe. Ken Parker, I think, was the moderator then, and he appointed her after she had run for and lost for school committee one year.
her consolation prize, which she still has to deal with
Yeah.
today.
You volunteered for something, guess what?
Don't poke your head up.
I'll volunteer to call Ken Parker.
Hmm?
I'll volunteer to call Ken Parker and if somebody else wants to do it, to see if he knows. How the finance committee got to be appointed by the moderator.
I don't know. That's the first trace of it, that 1988 was when the town bylaw was created, but as you see, it refers to a 1910 statute, so,
Yeah,
I think we were doing it, we just didn't have it documented. And that's, you know, to the point we're working on, there's a lot of stuff that has been created, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do
Yeah.
that, and, maybe it hasn't been fully.
yeah, so it's like long-term, if we keep this going after the special act and wanna do a charter, but
Mhm.
that's where we've gotta figure all that stuff out.
So I actually did have a question about that, and so first of all, I think that, our consultant has said that we can't have a town manager form of government because we're too small.
Correct.
Mhm.
And so the next question is, if we're going to go for a strong, I am still not sure why we can't do that just by amending the bylaw that we have for the town administrator.
Good point, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I see two advantages to that.
Hmm.
One is it's a cumbersome process to get a special act through, even though no one's going to peep about it, it still takes a while. We have to get through town meeting, then it has to get filed, and it'll get, the great and general court will get to it when they get to it. It seems that it would be faster to just bring in an amendment to the bylaw. And second,
What does that have to go through?
town meeting,
That's it.
that's it. And I believe it may have to have attorney general approval, but
Yeah, ultimately, after the vote,
ultimately,
Yeah.
For all, but it would anyway. We just don't have to. But the second advantage I see to that, I guess what the Collins Center was talking about to some extent was that it's more certain if you have a special act.
Yeah.
You can still change it, it just takes longer. But as we are tinkering with this and feeling our way through the process, it just seems that having something we can, well, let's get the bylaw amended and see how that works.
yeah,
And then,
totally agree. And there would be a slight feeling around the town that we did it ourselves, as opposed to having something come down from either the Collins Center or whatever, who said, yeah, this is the way you're supposed to do it. I think some people would react against that.
perhaps, yeah, you know, it depends on the crowd. We
Yeah.
could. Maybe the fact that there was nothing
Yeah, you had,
overtly controversial on the town meeting warrant, but basically everything passed unanimously or with
yeah,
the same two people
the
voting
most I
against it.
saw was a 5 vote against.
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Man, this is going.
Yeah. Right,
So,
Well, the DPW building didn't make it.
the DPW wasn't up.
right.
That one might have been a
That
little
would have been the big.
Icy, probably.
That will be 2 hours by itself.
Yeah,
Um,
it is not our.
so anyway, I'd be
Issue, but-
interested in the Collins Center input on that, but I think as we're playing around with this,
Mhm.
you know,
It's
I'll
part
give
of
the example,
board.
we had this senior housing bylaw that we adopted 17 years ago or something, and we've had a couple of developers come in at various times to say, look, you know, this section here, I can't make it work. It's internally inconsistent when you put real numbers on it. So, oh, okay. And we go back to town meeting. We amended it probably 3 times before anybody broke ground. So something like, I don't think you're gonna have a groundswell of people saying, let's repeal the town administrator bylaw. You know, that argument was
Mhm.
taken up 25 years ago, maybe 35 years ago. I think it just seems to make it a simpler process. We can still be as complex as if it were a special act, to just not adopt it as a special act.
To me, it feels better. It's not. We're not blowing it up to be a huge freaking deal. we're just amending something.
Right, we're amending something and if we don't like how it works out in practice, we can amend it again. Likewise, we could amend the special act, we could ask for a special act to be amended, but you know, that turns what's conceivably a 6-month process between annual town meeting and special town meeting into a 18-month process.
Yeah.
My 2 cents.
So I'll ask Collin Center if they're aware of any legal reason why we need to go the special act route. I suspect not, just from quickly scanning the internet. If not, the other thing we could also do is if we amend the bylaw and we like how it's going and feel that we'd be on stronger footing with a special act, then if we write the special act at that point, tell everyone, we're just codifying
Yeah.
the bylaw.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
yeah.
Everyone, yep, everyone's fine, we move on.
Yeah, we take
Mm-hmm.
2
Baby
years,
steps.
we amend it once,
Mhm.
we correct it a couple of times, and if it's working, then yeah,
Make
okay.
a special, plus that would, amending the bylaw, I think just seems more of a nice, like you were saying, having it set before the new town administrator is kind of we'll take a half step,
Yeah.
get the town administrator in.
Yeah.
Get them set, and then, you know, hopefully we hire someone with experience from other towns who will say like, yeah, like how this is working, we've done this somewhere else that you guys might wanna consider. And then we'll amend it again.
Is the current town administrative bylaw quite complex?
No, I just filled it up.
Not quite complex, but it's, it has, it's a few pages.
Mhm.
Just pulled it up. So what I've got on E code for town administrator, adopted by town meeting 1988. It's a position established, 2 little paragraphs, term of office compensation, 2 little paragraphs, duties and responsibilities, A through
Okay.
N. And then
Right.
1 to 2
Yeah.
lines each, the responsibilities. It's not, when that special act from South Hadley, isn't that like 10 pages of duties and
Yeah.
so we would be bulking it
Right.
out.
We can build up to that. We can build up to the South Hadley.
Yeah, well, that's a special act.
Yeah.
So I will ask them if there's any reason why that route doesn't work, and then we can start looking at, I mean, we can go through their chart today. We need to
I think if anything for voters, it would be a logical
clean, yeah, step,
sequence
next
to
step.
go from
Mm-hmm.
a slight cleanup of the bylaw to a more complex charter.
Much easier
Makes
to
sense.
sell,
Mm-hmm.
much easier.
So if we can go this route, then I think we would just look at what we currently have and what, you know, people liked about, say, South Hadley and just do a gap analysis.
Yep. And
What do we want in there? What don't we want?
there is no way to get it done before the new town administrator is hired.
No.
The absolute most we could hope for would be to have something for the fall town meeting in October, but so we're already tight for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mel was pretty confident that we could have something for that. I mean, like, I honestly think I could write something before our next meeting and we could pick it apart and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me stealing stuff from other people, which I'm
Mhm.
perfectly happy to do.
Yeah.
Things that have been blessed by other towns and
Right.
state government.
If they do hire a new town administrator before it's solidified, I think the term, the town administrator is 3 years. Tom?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so again, it could be adjusted in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, what was I just thinking? Just went right out of my head.
I would suspect a town administrator who was hired under one system would be delighted to have more authority.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
everybody's like,
right.
what if we do it? Shouldn't we tell them like? I don't think there's anyone you're gonna say, oh, you're actually gonna be more autonomous than we told you, but no
Right.
one's gonna go. Oh, I really wanted to talk to the select board about everything.
Right.
That's not gonna be,
Well, as long as they are assertive and like
Yeah.
leadership.
I mean, unless they hire someone who just loves to ask permission for things,
Yeah.
Which is the kind we should be hiring.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
one hopes.
Right.
So, yeah, and that's going to be a wild card, all around, because whoever we get will have strengths and weaknesses. And it might be a budget guru or a HR guru or a grant writing machine, but we're probably not
That won't
gonna
be
get
for
someone
For
who
3 years,
does everything.
Mhm.
yeah. So. We want to go through that whole chart. if we don't have to. Didn't I skip over something on the agenda as well? Oh, their department board survey memo. We can go through that if we want. So I honestly think whether we do a special act or bylaw amendment, the only. I think we're gonna be pretty clear on the duties. Except for if we wanna change any reporting lines, it strikes me as the only
Yeah.
issue we need to sort out. And if we wanna recommend that, you know, we need to talk to the people who will be impacted and
Right.
see how that's gonna go.
So I don't know how you can change some of the reporting lines unless you move to, say, make the Board of Health appointed.
Oh, so we can't do any of that till we do that bit.
So rather than, yeah, I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I'm not either.
It, never thought about it really, but that would be something, likewise, I don't know if, I'd want to. You have to look at the underlying statutory authority for the Board of Health to see if it can be appointed.
Right,
And likewise for the assessors to see whether they have to be elected or can be appointed. I know Northampton and Amherst don't elect assessors.
yeah,
Mm.
that seems like
Are
a
they hired by
particular
the-
skill you'd want someone to have.
Yeah,
Or
The
not,
mayor or
yeah.
the town manager?
In Northampton, I think they all report to the mayor. The assessor, the treasurer, the,
Sense.
I remember Linda, when she got up and made her position unelected. She had a phrase that was. That really caught the beating, I think. She said that your decision is, do you want to hire the most important? The most competent person to handle your multi-millions? Or do you want to hire the most popular person to? And
And yes,
I
that's how
think
we
that-
do with most elections.
Mhm.
I think, well, that was a good point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It passed 98 to 2 or something.
Well, it strikes me something like Board of Health, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
you could elect someone
Right,
who's not educated in health and is the least healthy person you've ever seen, like,
And.
Oh, we've seen parallels of that.
Agenda,
yeah.
you could hire somebody or vote in, the town could vote in, somebody who had an agenda.
Yeah, so a lot of
Or
that.
someone who was anti-vax.
right, that's what I was
Beat me
saying.
to
I
it.
didn't know what I said.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I feel like. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know that we need to know, but I don't know how to find it out.
and maybe that's a reason to have reporting lines, just stay away from that.
Yeah,
For now, if you want to take a shot at editing, if you want to send it to me.
so we're just looking basically at. Giving the town administrator. Authority to do things without going to the select board, we'll just,
Yeah.
anything that says he has to go, he or she has to go to the
And-
select board, we'll,
And
Refix.
fill in some of the gaps.
yeah.
That
Mhm.
is there, and the South Hadley one could be a fine model,
The way I look at it is, the question is, who has the responsibility?
It's kind of unclear in some of these surveys.
Yeah,
Mhm.
They don't, but it's also unclear, like, you know, the survey. Says it's from a committee, but it was really filled out by the person, you know.
Mhm.
Also, the surveys for department heads went to boards and commissions, so it doesn't really apply to them, it's all kind of confusing, but. Yeah, like.
so this is in the side, and I don't want to take us too far down the path, but that's been something I've been concerned with. I know it's something Molly is trying to get on top of with not having fire and forget committees appointed to do who knows what, or,
Right.
here's your charge, and, what do you mean you did that?
Yeah,
So Molly's trying to rope people back in to report back on what they're doing, and many are all right on that, but it has been historically an issue that the committees go off and get into internal discussions about what they want to focus on, and may or may not be what
but the board.
what
wanted them to
we
do.
really need to have focus on. So, it's something, yeah, the reporting lines are an important issue, but they may be a bigger issue than
Yeah.
just
we can do
working
at
on.
this point.
Although, it would probably be a fine clause to add, an additional responsibility of the town administrator is to,
Figure out
keep tabs on
the
the
board.
various, committees that have been appointed by the, select board.
Well, yeah, if they have some
Mhm.
oversight over the boards and commissions, then it doesn't matter so much that some employees report to the boards and commission, because eventually it goes up to the town administrator if there's ever, like your, free wage share employee,
Mhm.
if there's a real
Mhm.
dispute amongst the three committees, there's someone
Yeah,
to resolve that.
and
You
it's,
need a judge at the end, but
and we also now have an HR department, which provides sort of an intermediate layer of, an employee go to the HR department.
yeah.
Um,
Such a big town, look at us, HR department. It's two people, right, the department?
I think they're 2.5.
Well, there you go.
Department.
But
No joke.
it's benefits and payroll primarily.
Yeah, well, that's my favorite part of HR. So it seems like you don't really need to go through this whole chart tonight. The one they made, did anyone get a chance to look at this stuff?
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
they did a great job.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
although I found a few cases where he cites section 2C2 of West Newbury and it didn't exist.
oh,
Or
oh,
it-
Could be a cut.
in
and
his
paste.
chart, there seems to be a mismatch.
AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm. So,
For what it's worth, I used to live in West Newbury.
I don't even know where that is. There's so many towns in this state I've never heard of.
Do you know where Newburyport is? What West Newbury is, just
West of it?
the other side.
West.
Essex County, I think.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, and that's expanding.
And the guy I got involved with politics through was a guy named Albert Elwell. He was an 82-year-old strawberry farmer. And Albert used to be a selectman and used to actually represent the town in legal.
At the same time?
Yeah. Yeah,
One way to do it.
small New England town.
I hired myself as your attorney. I'm great, don't worry about anything. That's one thing. Yeah, so I think this is, if we're talking about the bylaw route, this whole chart is a lot more stuff than we need to worry about at this stage. Although I appreciate the
Although
putting
you
it
could focus down on just the sections relating to the town administrator and, use those as an outline for.
So I am happy to put together, say, a Frankenstein bylaw amendment that comes with from our bylaw and adds in some of what the recommendations are here,
Great.
and then submit that to you guys to look at before our next meeting.
Wow,
And
great.
can Google Doc it if people wanna,
Mhm.
or if you prefer to do handwritten things, I'll.
We have to
I like
be
Google.
careful about distributing it. You can send a copy to me, for example.
Yeah, it's open meeting.
But-
Once it goes.
Any further, you can send it without comment, but if you want to, you can't have a
No dialogue.
back and forth, you have a
Right.
dialogue.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
and you call it meeting material. But no comment, you're
So
right.
to discuss it, we have to do it.
Right, but if you want to just send it to me for discussion purposes,
That makes
I
sense.
can
Yeah, that would
look
be
at.
helpful, cause you. I keep telling Bill, he just like, he'd ask questions, I'm like, well, I don't know that, but probably everyone else on our committee does, because
Not me.
I don't know that much about the town. I mean, I know the town, but I haven't followed the town government closely, because I haven't been here for decades, but. And I was a child before that and didn't care.
Right.
So I have limited knowledge about how things currently work, so I can. Frankenstein something, and it would be helpful to have your input on.
So you and I can dialogue.
Yes.
But not the rest of
Okay.
the committee.
That'll
We don't
work.
really wanna know what you guys think anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we just want you to present the solution,
Right.
don't bug us with the
Listen,
details.
I'm a
We
big
can thumbs
fan
up or
of
thumbs down.
completed staff, the staff work, completed staff work
If you,
doctrine,
if you lawyers.
ready
wanna
for
nitpick-
signature.
Yeah, if you lawyers wanna nitpick the thing, go ahead.
We're not getting paid in 6-minute increments, so.
Yes.
Don't have that many, no need to make that.
Throw in plenty of herewiths and therewiths,
Right.
four cents.
Yes.
Wherefore, I like a good where, whereas, these are all good things.
They take up space.
Mhm.
It's a total aside, my favorite old boss is retiring, and my former coworker sent out the invite for his retirement party, and she did it because we were a litigating division as the, a captioned case, but whereas Terry Henry is requested to retire. It was really cute.
Oh,
That's really nice. Nerds. Things that amuse us. So I don't feel the need to walk through this 6-page chart at this time, at this meeting. Does anyone else?
No, I think you're right, if we're going to just focus on the administrator. We don't need to go through the whole thing,
Okay.
and then whatever we collectively put together. Whether it be an amendment or the outline of a special act, you
Yeah,
know, that'll be our next step.
okay.
Couldn't that be on the agenda for the fall town meeting?
In October, very unlikely. You know, it's, we're already up to. We'll next meet in June,
Mhm.
and, I know we'll have, quorum issues potentially
Summer.
over the
Yeah.
summer.
Mhm.
With hybrid, that's a little easier.
It is.
Mhm.
Is DPW gonna be at the next town meeting, that building?
There's gonna be a special,
No,
probably in
Super
September.
special town meeting,
Double special.
double secret probation.
Yes,
Interesting.
so,
I'd like to push for a nice line of trees at the north end of the DPW, because it's kind of my view of the mountain. It's gotten pretty
Oh.
cluttered back there.
Oh,
There used to be
over there.
like one little building and nice shrubbery, and now it's really gotten out of hand back
I
there.
should say, I may be reporting old thinking, but the thinking was that the, DPW would be on by itself or paired with a potential operational override to fund the ambulance service.
Wow.
Hmm.
Just hit them with everything.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, because otherwise there's no money to fund the ambulance past September.
Yeah,
Oh,
Jay,
You know, I
maybe UMass should
distinctly,
be paying.
I distinctly remember the pitch being that the ambulance service will pay for itself. And
I think that's an eventual.
Yeah.
well, I called a couple of towns and, the answer was no, there's only one town where it pays in this area. Where the ambulance service pays for itself through the fees. And that's the Northampton, because there are large nursing homes. And every time there's transport,
Oh, yeah.
call
Yeah.
it to the hospital
Yeah.
or
oh.
to another nursing home, there's a fee for the ambulance.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
the only one.
Hmm.
So we're stuck with that.
So. Whatever, that's the plan. The plan is to take those two up separately, probably in September.
Yeah,
And then, the fall special town meeting is customarily held in October, although last year, because of some funding uncertainties, it was bumped to the first week of November.
Sure.
So, that's why I think it's unlikely
Mhm.
that we would have a finished product in time, and then you have to backtrack because they open the warrant. Have to open the warrant at a certain point, and then they close it
Mhm.
more than a month before well, they can reopen it, but um again, it's unlikely. It maybe if we wanted to meet twice a month, but
Sure.
Sorry about that.
Well, we're. We have a plan,
we have a plan.
yeah. I think-
And, you know, that outline could be transferable to a special act, or it could be implemented as a amendment to what we already have.
Yeah.
Which would be,
Seems definitely easier to do the bylaw,
Yeah,
which, was I know there's a bylaw committee, were they looking at the?
I
town
don't know,
administrative bylaw?
I don't think so.
Oh, good,
Um,
'cause that would be,
They were charged with looking at everything, but I think they have been focusing more on some of the oddball things in there, and do we still need
yeah,
a bylaw for this? And they,
just clean up, sort of,
yeah, they had, they were behind moving the constables from elected to appointed.
Yeah.
And,
so it's, can you just do a bylaw to do that, change from elected to appointed? You don't have to do something.
I don't know if I don't know if constables are even addressed in the bylaw. We have historically had elected constables. And, we did vote, I think, at the fall town meeting to go to appointed the constables, but that will also be a ballot question on the annual town election, which is coming up in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Buy your asparagus merchandise. We'll be selling for Edward Hopkins Educational Foundation.
I did observe going through his table and the sections of Hanover, South Hadley and West Newbury. There was consistency in the language, the quality of the language, the specificity.
Probably copy, one
Yeah.
copy, one of the
Right.
others.
Mhm.
It's the best way to write them.
And once you get into a special act, that's public domain
Mhm.
anyway, so no copyright concerns there, and you know that it has previously been approved,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
which is another reason to
Mhm.
follow the language if at all possible.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Easy button.
Something else people feel we need to address before we start getting something down on paper that we can. I think, I don't know where I meant, but we can put the thing up on the screen once we have a written thing to work on. Correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I could just call into the Zoom prompt.
Yeah, you can call into the Zoom and share your screen.
Mhm.
Done.
I don't know what the other options are for projecting.
That's probably the way to go.
Then
People will have to look at us, the hordes that are watching meetings. You gotta be 60, 70,000 people watching. Riveting stuff. All right, well, this has been helpful. We're gonna have something in writing. And I'll definitely find out I'll send an email if, they give me some like, oh, you absolutely can't do it as a bylaw for the following 17 reasons.
Mhm.
I don't expect that, but I'll let you know.
yeah, my recollection is that they were pushing for a special act as more permanent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Less
Mhm.
susceptible to whim,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it's not like,
We enjoy our whims here in Hadley.
well, in the long term, that may be really good advice. But but just to get the change done.
Mhm.
Especially with the new person coming on board.
Yeah,
Right,
and it's not a whim like the select board adopting a
Right.
resolution to change the terms.
Mhm.
It does require a process, town meeting,
Mhm.
majority vote at least.
So he does anything on a whim for town meeting, because it's such a pain to do anything for town meeting. You don't go there unless you have to.
No,
No.
for a general bylaw, it's a majority.
Yeah. Well, just get this in, what, 160 people? This was the most amenable group I've ever seen. They were like, yeah, that's good, let's all have that.
Yeah.
It's a great town meeting.
Yeah, quick, what's next?
Yeah, we're like, everyone good, yep, let's do it.
Mhm.
I attended the CPA meeting by Zoom where they discussed the funding for the steeple.
Oh,
And
yes.
I had personal concerns about separation of church and state, but
It was a
wouldn't have gone over.
historic building, though.
They were safe to get it approved.
There
But
were definitely at some
they
meetings.
kept
comments
throwing
like
out
that.
higher figures like, oh, let's add 100,000 to. What we're gonna get, and it's like, oh my God, they were so drunk with CPA money.
There's a lot of CPA money that's sitting there, but,
I
and
think
there's
some-
very limited things you can.
Don't
do
some
with it.
people think of CPA money, it's free money,
Yeah,
because it's
It's our
not,
money.
when it's appropriated, it's not allocated. Excuse me, not allocated,
yeah,
it becomes a pile of money that
right.
then becomes a free-for-all.
Uh-huh.
We were approached once by someone on the committee, one of the groups I was in, saying like, we'd love for you guys to ask for some money. Like, you know, for real things, and we're like, oh, we didn't know we could do that. But, yeah, they're sitting on a pile.
So they already had 100,000 from an earlier town meeting for the steeple.
For
And
the
now they're.
clock.
So maybe I should make a motion to adjourn.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
How do we
Sec-
stop that?
Oh,
Get out.
Oh, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
Set a date for the next meeting?
Oh, unadjourned. What are we at? We're doing
The first Thursday in
first.
each month.
There. So this is the second Thursday, so the second Thursday next month
That's
is,
because of town meeting.
oh, right,
Thursday.
so is first good for everyone? Is that what we wanted to do? I can't remember at all.
Yeah, actually, first Thursday would work better for me because I have a board meeting on the second Thursday.
June 5th, work for everybody?
June fifth.
Mhm.
If you put an email out,
Yeah, definitely,
thank you.
and,
You said the fifth?
yes,
Yep.
and now, all in favor of adjourn?